Hi, everyone. I'm Gail Minogue. I'm happy to be back today with you because I want to speak today about an important subject. I call it the return of the revolutionaries. What America is going through right now is a return to the period of approximately 1778, 1780, 1779 and 80, this period shortly after we declared our independence and we began to form a nation going through the Revolutionary War. This period of time of this, quote, empire of the United States is approximately 250 years long. And we are now in the final years of it as we go and start a new period where we revolutionize America. So what you're seeing now is a period, if you go back in history and you read that period about 1778, 1779, and 80, you're going to see similarities to this period we are experiencing right now. The volatility, the polarity, some wanted King George to stay, some wanted they weren't colonies yet, but thoroughly they wanted them to stay. So we had these opportunities of people taking advantage of the situation, which we have now. The only thing they didn't have is social media. So things didn't spread as quickly as they do now, but it's a very similar period. What you're seeing in both these candidates, both Harris and Trump, is a look to the past. They are not looks to the future. They are looks at what has happened, what needs to be fixed, not what needs to be changed, or where we're going into the future. We are finishing up the past. So whoever wins in somewhat is I can't say it's irrelevant because it is relevant, but it will create more chaos until we get to 2028 and we can begin the new cycle after that election. So we have to get through the next 4 years, 5 years, before we will see a clearing of this volatility that we're experiencing. Things will begin to change in 2025, start to lighten up in 2026, and there'll be less of this my way, not your way, my way. It'll be more integrated, but it's going to take 5 years to do that. And then we have another election, and that's the one you want to really pay attention to, and that's when you bring in the new changes for America. So we're stuck in the same old stuff for the next 4 or 5 years. And at that point, we gradually leave this 2024 election and move into this new period gradually. So things will improve as far as hating our neighbor, and slinging stuff at each other and not talking to family members because of whose side they're on. All this crazy making. I just call it crazy making. And until you get past these next 4 years. So it is a matter of changing their institutions. Some of them are breaking down already. You're beginning to see this in what I call the higher education period and the period that came out of World War II, which was the age of the expert. I've spoken of this before. And I will say to you, I'm going to be doing a Zoom program on the 28th of September, Saturday, from 11 a.m. Pacific time to 12:30 Pacific time. And if you are interested in knowing more about where we're headed off in the next 5 years and how we're going to handle it, then please tune in or register. I know it's a late call because this YouTube is going to go up on Friday the 27th, but maybe you might be able to catch it tomorrow. And if not, I'm going to have a recording available, and that'll be on my website, gailminogue.com, and you can purchase that and get the whole program. But if you want to tune in and live and there'll be Q&A, then please register for the 28th program. Nevertheless, so one of the things I mentioned, we're going to be breaking down institutions that have outworn themselves. We had this period that began at 1980 with the Reagan era. That's a 50-year cycle. That's going to be ending the same time as this, and the 80-year cycle is ending the same time. So it's a volatile, changing time for America, but it's a revolutionary period. Remember, this is a form of a revolution that we're in. It is not a civil war. It is a form of a revolution. Will there be fights? Who knows? Protests? There will be a revolt. but it won't be much less, say, Democrat or Republican. It will be a revolt of the general public because people are fed up with how the inequality, a lot of different things in our society, the people who are working themselves to death and don't make enough to be able to buy a house, things like this, be able to pay the rent that they're charged. It's just, people will revolt. And this part of the revolution, it's a revolt. So you will see that between 2025 and 2028, perhaps more so 25, 26 than you would after 29. That should be sailing into a new future for America. So don't expect revolutionary changes. We need the revolution to make the changes. So it is a form of a revolution going forward. And then that cycle is completed of that 250-year period, and we begin a new period for the United States. What will she do? Well, you need to tune in and find out as we move forward past this period of 2028. So we're all tired of this election period. We are all weary of listening to the same old garbage from the candidates and the promises, which basically are nothing more than words right now. The period following it can be very chaotic. There's been a lot of lying and embellishment and crazy stuff in this cycle. So we have to kind of balance and stay centered. But one of the institutions you'll see is, of course, what I mentioned is the higher education. You see people not questioning whether it's even worth it to go to college, certainly not paying these high prices for it. Is that education worth it? That's one area. The healthcare system is another area that has to be broken down and behave itself better and be able to have better healthcare for the people. So this is part of the revolt, is people who can't, what do we do with the old people? There's no programming for the elderly as we add, these thousands of people every day to the over 65 group. Who's going to care for them? What's going to happen? There's no planning. It's a breakdown. So these systems will continue to break down as we move into the future. We get past the next few years. So you need to think differently on how you do what I call, it's not a negative period. Having said all this, it's a positive period, but it's a period that has to be attended to and it cannot be ignored. And you can't just go by the same old system, because the old system, even the way we do the finances, even the way we do the economy, all of this is going to be inspected and changed, revolutionized, whatever you want to call it. So this is the period, I call it the return of the revolutionaries. In fact, some books that you read over time, there was a wonderful book, I think it was called The Return of the Revolutionaries. You may want to get it. And it speaks of the people who are now alive, who were also alive at the time of the American Revolution, have reincarnated during this period now to be here now to assist in this change. And it's uncanny. You didn't have photography back at the time of the American Revolution and the formation of the country, but you had artists, and you look at some of these people who they connect to the person who is in this present modern day, and it's uncanny, the look of the old painting and the look of who the person is today. It's very uncanny who that person is and who that person was. So the book is called The Return of the Revolutionaries. I don't remember the author's name, but it could be something you might be interested in. Compare it to this time. The names of the people have changed, but if you look deeply at the conditions, it's very similar to forming the nation back in 1778, 79, 80, 81, 82, and moving into the formation of the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and all of that, and forming this nation. So I think that it's very much worth your time to pursue this and take a look at the energy of what's going on now, and not to be, oh, it's Democrat, it's Republican, it's what have you. It's crazy. That's what it is. And it's not going to be what you expected going forward, but it will make change. And in the long run, that change is extremely constructive for us, because we're a nation that was born in revolt, and that's our nature. when it gets bad, we revolt. We tried to civil war our way out. It didn't work. And so now what we will do is return to our mother time here of when we were formed. This is all cyclical. You could plan it by the heavens. There's a lot of other cycles in play, and I'll go over that in tomorrow's workshop. So I just want to give you some food for thought. This is not surprising that we're in this time at all, and how it is so similar to what we have experienced before. This is not original thinking. Anyway, what's added to it is the social media. So I always want to thank you for listening. If you need to get in touch with me, please do. I answer comments if you need a private session to help you move forward in your own life. And a lot of people are coming forth who are facing retirement and not sure what to do. And they make crazy decisions based on, cheap housing and taxes, but they don't really appreciate the lifestyle they need. What do they really want? So let's talk, and I look forward to our next YouTube. Thank you. Thank you for watching this video. If you're not already a subscriber, I invite you to be one. And I cover many things from numbers to cycles to trends. And I put out a video for YouTube every 2 weeks. So I look forward to seeing you soon.